Let's get into Switch 2 announcement.
Cool.
David, you looked into this a lot more than I did. All I saw was like, I feel like we've been hearing about a new Switch at least for years. Like there was the OLED Switch, right, which was like kind of the updated one, and then there was the Switch Lite, which was the non-disconnecting one. But there's always been this talk of like a new, bigger, higher resolution Switch. All I really saw so far of it that people were really excited about was there was an announcement that we will get an announcement for Switch 2 before the end of the fiscal year, which is April 2025.
Yeah.
What do we know about it?
So yeah, this is kind of wild. I think it was yesterday as of the time of recording, so Tuesday, there was a random Nintendo tweet that was all in Japanese and then a follow-up tweet that was translated to English that said, this is Furukawa, president of Nintendo. We will make an announcement about the successor to the Nintendo Switch within the fiscal year. It has been over 9 years since we announced the existence of the Nintendo Switch back in March 2015. We'll be holding a Nintendo Direct this June regarding the Nintendo Switch software lineup for the latter half of 2024, but please be aware that there will be no mention of the Nintendo Switch successor during that presentation. So, kind of wild because Nintendo has not said a single thing about the existence of a follow-up Nintendo Switch at all. They don't do that, really. They usually don't make announcements like that. Generally because obviously they don't want people to just stop buying hardware when there's a new one right around the corner. So I think that that's sort of what they're doing is they're like, we're going to talk about it, but just so you know, we're not going to talk about any software regarding it.
Well, and also this like this new Nintendo Direct's coming up. It's not going to be mentioned, but also like, but we will eventually is kind of cool. And it's funny that the other article about Nintendo I saw about this recently is that the Switch is on pace this year to potentially beat the Nintendo DS as the most sold device that Nintendo's ever done.
Yeah.
Which is
wild.
Wild, yeah.
But I do think the Switch is like one of the coolest form factors ever.
I think the Switch might be one of the coolest consoles just ever.
Yeah,
like it's one where if you're a Nintendo fan, you're amped about it because it has all your games. It has a bunch of really cool ways to play it. But even if you're someone who like plays games on your computer and that's where you mostly play, those people are still buying a Switch. I am one of those. I don't own an Xbox or a PlayStation anymore. Yeah. I feel like if you own an Xbox or a PlayStation, you're usually in one of those camps. The Switch feels like an awesome companion device to maybe playing your bigger games and online games on your PC, but then some fun, nostalgic Mario or like bring it on the plane. That whole thing, or parties, like having people over or playing Mario Kart is so much fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they're selling so well, because you're either a Nintendo fan and you bought it, or it's like your secondary gaming console because it's super well priced also.
I think the best part about it is the fact that you always have two controllers on you at all times. Like it's such a cool idea. And yes, they're not super comfortable and they're a little bit small, but they work. And I've had so many instances where I'll just be on a plane and I'll literally ask the person sitting next to me if they want to play Mario
really?
Kart.
Like someone you don't know? That's awesome.
Yeah, I do that all the time. And it's like, just play Mario Kart. I don't know. It's fun.
I've seen so many people like waiting at the terminal and just like you see like 3 or 4 kids just sitting around. Like you see the seat. Of course, you're always like, I need more seats. And they have one seat, but that's where the Switch is. And then there's 4 kids like sitting on their luggage or on the ground playing Mario Kart. And you're like, that's so awesome.
Also, on some of the flights I've been taking recently, they probably advertise this as like, it's a high resolution screen now, but they got rid of the screens on the back of the plane seats and they instead just have a big clamp that can like hold your phone or an iPad.
That's awesome.
But it could also hold a Switch. So you can just like sit there with your Switch and your Joy-Cons and it doesn't have to be attached to the console.
I did not know that. That's so cool.
That's such a good idea. Have you ever seen the people who like, they take their phone with the case, they pop the case off, they take the puke bag out and they like fiddle it into the seat and then snap the case on and it like holds their phone up on so they can watch content on that. Funny. So maybe they're just protecting their puke bags.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because technically like those screens are generally super low resolution and some airlines have put the money into making them higher resolution. But the best case scenario is honestly just like use your phone or your laptop or
an iPad.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's count 1. We're not even in the iPad section yet.
Hot take. There was like a period of time where like a few airlines had direct TV.
There's planes that still do.
But a lot of airlines have like gotten rid of it, I've noticed. But anyway, that was my favorite because I never get to watch TV except when I'm in a plane or a hotel. And so my favorite thing to do on flights is watch commercials.
Watch HGTV.
Yeah, be like, wow, they're still doing this. It's
your
crazy.
Super Bowl, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how uncomfortable Switch controllers were.
Yeah.
And annoying they are. One of the main reasons they're super annoying are the rail system.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how they had to be done, but like putting them on is a pain in the neck. And the worst is, do you know the little strap that has like the extra buttons?
Yeah.
If you pull one of those on backwards, which is unfortunately very easy to do.
hard to get off.
It's basically not impossible, but it's extremely
I was
hard to
just
get off.
gonna mention that. Like when they, do you remember when the Switch first came out? They there was so many people doing that. People were writing articles about how
breaking.
to correctly put it on.
It's like
'Cause-
the Note pen when you put it in upside down, which is way harder to do, I think, but like it would just get stuck.
Right.
But it seems like the rumor is magnets for this new one.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of rumors coming out about the Switch 2, but one of the coolest rumors is that the Switch 2 is going to have metal Joy-Cons that use electropermanent magnets. And this is very cool.
It sounds cool.
Yeah.
For someone who has no idea what that means.
Basically, how they work is like you can send a little pulse of current through the Switch / Joy-Con, and it'll change the magnetic field so that it snaps to the console.
Okay.
And then you can send another pulse of current through, and it'll change the magnetic field so it doesn't snap to the console.
So the extremely layman's term is you can turn the magnets on and off.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
But you get that
Alice.
you get the added bonus of in an electromagnet, which is a magnet you normally can turn it off, you need to be constantly running current
Right.
through your magnet to
Okay.
maintain
It's a
that magnetic
it's a
field.
hard swap with just one pulse of electricity.
Exactly. So
It's
you,
super cool.
You get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because obviously if you had to
Okay.
constantly be running current through it to keep the magnetic field going, when you turn the console off, they just fall off.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So if it's off.
So you can put it in the case and it'll stay on. You press a button and they pop off. For when
That's
you want
pretty
to
cool.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm imagining just like going up to now the person that's sitting next to you in the airport, you're just like, you want to play? And you just like press the button and they both fall into like both people's hands. We're like, we're ready.
That better be in the ad,
Yeah.
man. That better be in the ad.
That sounds already like a huge upgrade. Like you wonder what the Switch upgrades are going to be, right? Like the main things you assume is just like it'll have a higher resolution and maybe have a little more power in it. But like, how do you update this really cool form factor that you've made already?
Yeah.
And they've kind of screwed things up before where they did the
Joy-Con
really cool,
drift.
or remember like the really cool Wii, and then you released Wii U,
Which
and
is
that like
terrible.
bombs terribly.
Yeah.
So Ellis, I think, is a Wii U fan or
Forever.
forever.
Yeah.
No, I never owned one, but
The Wii U
You
was
still loved it.
in some ways like a precursor to the Switch.
Yeah,
because
It was, yeah.
It was like a like a prototype of the Switch.
Yeah, but they mostly focus on Wii U on like the screen being extra
An extra
information rather than a to-go thing.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, you couldn't really take it with you.
They're so close.
Yeah, they're so close. But there are some rumors about the ways that they're going to be updating this. Larger 8-inch display, which I assume will be OLED, considering they already have the Switch OLED. I don't think that they're gonna like go back in display quality.
Wrong.
It should be maybe, I don't know. It should be 1080p resolution, which, you know, for Nintendo games is fine. And it should support 4K output when the dock is connected.
This is the part that I don't understand.
What?
Why would it support 4K output?
Well,
None of the
because
Nintendo
it's
games are like that high quality.
but they will be.
oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's constantly being powered so they can push more power into it. Because currently it's 720p on the display, and when you put it in the dock, it can support up to 10.
currently with more power, current.
No? Yeah. Right now,
Buzz him.
right now, it's a 720p display, and when you hook it up to the dock, it supports up to 1080p output because it's constantly being powered.
And I think Nintendo's the only one who could have pulled that off because like their games are very cartoony, but
Yeah,
like I
cel
still
shaded.
want it in 4K. Like I'll still take that.
Totally.
Yeah, but if it raises the price even a little bit, I would rather just have the 1080p to play my cartoon games. You know,
Dude,
it's
it's
not
been-
like
And
it's,
buy a Switch
It's
One.
been
man.
8 years. It's been like almost 8 years since the original Switch came out.
I would love Nintendo games to be higher graphics where that would make sense, but I'm not sure that.
Well,
that's
it's not gonna
happen.
I don't think it's gonna be higher graphics to the point where it's like we're using like realistic textures. It's just that they need to upscale stuff, so they need to
You don't want ray tracing Mario? I mean, that's probably a thing already, to be
I want
honest.
to see Mario's like 5 o'clock shadow. I want to see every hair.
Do you remember the
Mario movie was
Super Mario
basically
World where the starting screen you could just like pull his face and his hat and everything?
No.
Imagine ray tracing 4K. It like the Ren and Stimpy close-ups with like the moles and the.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting, baby.
So the Joy-Cons will
There
apparently
were
be
so many millennial references in there. I'm sorry for the
Sorry.
younger listeners.
the Joy-Cons will apparently be made of metal. which is pretty cool. And apparently, some peripheral manufacturers were allowed to put their hands in a black box that had a prototype Switch 2 in it, but they weren't allowed to see it.
They could only feel it.
They could only feel it so that they could get a sense of its size and scale and buttons so that they could
I wish
start ideating.
Why don't we get to do that? That's so cool.
So funny.
You're at an event, David. Ready? The CEO walks up to you and is like, hey, you want to feel something? Follow me to this black box. Just put your hand in there. No questions asked. Put your hand in this black box.
This is a
Are you
studio
doing
video.
That's crazy.
Well, they invited people to come to their headquarters and touch it in the black box.
I feel like this is the updated version of like what phone is this behind your back, where we just take the box on the studio channel and then we put random tech items in and people have to figure out what item it is.
Oh yeah. That's a good
we're
idea.
sending this to Slack directly after this, but
yeah,
that would be awesome.
Yeah. So the original Switch was announced in 2015 and didn't come out until 2017. So they're going to announce the Switch 2 by the end of the fiscal year, which is by April 2025. But it might not come out till 2027.
It might be a straight decade before Switch 2 comes
which
out.
it would be nice if it came out next year too, but
two.
Dose.
That was better. Ring that one. Thank you.
There you go. Thanks. All right. Yeah. So those are all rumors. At least we got an official tweet from official Nintendo, which is not something that happens very often. But I'm very eager to see where that.
Do you think when it comes out, it will be as hard to get? Do you remember Switch coming out? And I mean, like, it wasn't quite PlayStation 5 levels of hard to get, but I remember at that point I wasn't working and I remember I drove everywhere to go get it because like no one would pick up the phones in the like Target or Walmart, like electronics departments, or they would pick up the phone and say, we don't have a Switch. And then like see if you had another question and then you just hang up.
It's so funny because I was not going to go buy it on launch day. And I was living in San Francisco. I was sitting in my room and I was just like reading all these reviews about it. I was like, maybe I do want to go get one. And so I just like walked over to Best Buy and there was a line. I just got in the line. They just gave me one. And it was fine. And then when the Switch OLED came out, I remember it was impossible to get everywhere. It was completely impossible to get. And one day I was just sitting in the cafe and I was like, yeah, I would kind of like to get one. So I like go on bestbuy.com and it was like available at a store near you. And I was like, that's weird. So I hit buy and pick up. So I go to Best Buy and the guy like takes it out of the back. He's like, dude, how were you like botting? Like, how were you able to get this? Like, we never have any in stock. And I was like, I literally just went on the website.
That's
so
when the PS6 comes out, I'm gonna ask you to get it for me.
I was gonna say that's why David isn't getting any of his like Leica or Fuji cameras because he wasted all his luck on the Switch OLED.
I wanted that Fuji special edition, but all right.
That's funny. Yeah, I had a really hard time getting it. Hopefully this is a little easier, but I feel like console sales the first month or two is
insane.
Tough.
It's always insane,
especially because they usually come out like right before holidays.
Yeah.
So it's just
they know
madness. Yeah.
I feel like consoles have it down to a science of how to just be the most popular thing at that time.
Yeah. What frame rate does the Switch run at? Do you know?
I just assumed. You mean on like output or on? I kind of just assumed 30 to be honest. But when you're also giving us something in 720p in 2017, I assume the lowest.
Most games can only manage 30.
Most games can only manage 30. It would be nice if they pushed it to 60.
It would be.
Nintendo games don't need it as much because everything's so like the animations are like
Marquez is gone for one episode and you're like, let's push it up to 60, baby.
Let's make all of our videos 60.
So would you rather 1080 at 60 or 4K at 30?
On a handheld?
You're saying only on device?
Oh, you mean both?
So let's say
I would do 1080 at 60 personally.
On device? Or on output. Yeah.
Because like Nintendo games don't need to be high resolution. The Switch is 720 and it feels fine.
Yeah. It's so funny that we always talk about specs of like high refresh rate, high resolution, and all of us are like, this Switch is the greatest thing ever. And it's just giving us 720, 30 frames.
No Nintendo games are made to be realistic. They're all highly stylized and they focus on fun over graphics. That's always been the difference.
Well, I also wonder, but it also feels great at 30. So, like, do I need 60? Would I rather just be like high super resolution. Crisp 4K?
Yeah, fair.
Well, Splatoon uses 60. That's one of the games that can go up to 60.
Really?
Yeah. Which makes sense, yeah.
Because the animations for Splatoon are like... Does Super Smash Bros. Have 60?
I hope not, but I'll check.
You hope not?
Yeah,
I feel like
isn't that,
people want
a thing where people that really play it know the frame rate and like when to press buttons.
Yeah,
and
well,
stuff.
that's more for Melee, though.
I also I feel like competitive games are normally where you start prioritizing. And I'm not a Smash player, so I could sound like a total moron here. But generally, competitive games are where you prioritize frame rate over graphics quality.
In Melee, at least, because so many of the moves are frame perfect, like you have to hit the button at exactly the right time. A higher refresh rate would probably be more difficult.
I was just gonna say, is it like better because you can figure it out easier and maybe see more of what's going on, or will it totally mess up timing? I guess it doesn't affect timing. But
I guess the sampling rate is going to be different from the frame rate. So
also, Super Smash Bros. Does run at 60.
60? That makes sense.
Oh.
Yeah.
120.
240 or no go. Yeah. So anyway, we're probably going to be hearing a lot more rumors about that for the next year up until they actually announce it. But I am quite excited.
I mean, it'll be the next console that I buy, and the last console that I bought was the Switch.
Yeah.
So
the only non-Nintendo console I've ever owned besides a PC, which is not a console, was the PS2 that I randomly got for Christmas.
I was a big Xbox guy for a while.
Yeah, I never had
first one. I don't want to story time too much, but I remember my friend was gonna get an Xbox, and my mom was like, "I don't think we can do it this year." I was like, "Okay, cool." I go to my friend's house all the way, and then one day she picks me up from my friend's house and was like, "We have an Xbox at home." I'm like, it's not even Christmas yet. And then she got Halo, and then I played Halo for like 10 years after.
Yeah.
She was like, "The guy just told me to get this game," and I was like, "What is this?" The controls were inverted. That felt so weird to aim inverted. Yeah, that started me.
It had the flashlight button, dude.
Yeah,
that was like the coolest part. I remember like
flashlight button.
Yeah, the original Xbox had a white and a black button, sort of like below the right stick.
Old Xbox controller was nuts. It was so big.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I was so close to just being like, "Thanks for watching that clip."
Yeah, and then one magnet goes
right on that like button.
Right on the like button. Yeah, kapow! Right on the like button.
You better magnetize your hand to that like button right now.
You better magnetize your fingers to your keyboard and leave a sweet comment.